back to another episode of the Between the Lines podcast. Yesterday was the NBA draft, so we're going to do a little bit of recap. Going to talk about some of the NBA free agency that's happened here in the last few days. Let's kick it off. Let's talk about what happened 1 through 5. Who's going to start off today?
Um,
You can go,
I'll
Kyle.
start it. Yeah. So first of all, starting off with the first pick, really, I feel like everybody kind of knew that Anthony Edwards was probably gonna go first. Um, like we were talking about from the jump, the top three was kind of set always. So when it came closer, I kind of knew that they were gonna take Anthony Edwards. But what was interesting though, and I'm sure y'all seen it, is how he was talking about his lack of like passion for the game. So I feel like that's got to raise a lot of eyes with everybody.
Yeah. I mean, about the first pick, I've been saying that it's gonna be bad if the Timberwolves do not take Anthony Edwards at first. Some people disagree with that, thinking LaMelo Ball is a better pick. Hell no. I think Edwards is a bit more complete, at least for what the Timberwolves are looking for. But yeah, that raises concerns. Um, his lack of interest for the game is definitely a point. Like every fan is pointing that out right now.
Yeah,
But there's just so much. I feel like if we focus the first three picks, I think were pretty obvious. I think all of us agree that once Edwards was out, we knew that Wiseman was going to the Golden State Warriors, unless a trade was going to come, and then obviously LaMelo Ball for the Hornets. I think the fourth pick is where the surprises start happening.
yeah,
I
definitely.
wanted to talk about it. Like Patrick Williams. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was not even a starter in college. Was he at the
No,
Seminoles?
he came off the bench. Yeah,
Exactly.
Florida State.
So it's I'm not saying he's gonna be a bust. It's obviously way too soon, and I mean the Bulls definitely had their reasons to draft him, but at 4, like when you have names like Killian Hayes, Obi Toppin, Avdia, even Okoro that came right after for the Cavaliers,
Hmm.
those are more established players in college. Those are guys that people expect them to be stars. And then you go for Patrick Williams. Like, even if you aiming for him, wouldn't it be beneficial to trade down on the draft? Get something. It's better than nothing. Because I feel like Patrick could have been drafted at like the 10th pick or even further. That's my personal opinion on the Bulls. I think it's a huge reach to draft him with the 4th pick when there's so many names on the board. And if you really want that guy, just trade down. You're gonna end up having him anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a surprise. If you look at a lot of mocks or you look at a lot of different experts, I think most people had Williams anywhere from like 6 to 13 probably is the
Mm-hmm.
range that most people had him going. But back to the Edwards conversation, I think he was the obvious number 1 just because I don't think Wiseman or Melo really fit in with the pieces that the Timberwolves already had in place considering D'Lo and Cat.
Yeah.
You can plug Edwards in there with his athleticism. He didn't always play defense at Georgia, but he has the tools. He's physical. He's long. If he's motivated and he decides, mentally that he wants to play defense, he can be a really good defender. He needs to improve his shooting from the outside. And if he can do that, I think he can be, a perennial all-star in the league. Those are big like ifs, those aren't givens at all. But if he can do those things, like I think he can have a great career in the league. So regarding that with him, I think, that potential is there. Um, but I want to go to 2 really quick cuz when that news with Clay came out, it had me wondering, because
Yeah,
nobody knew, right? They said
Mm-hmm.
it looked bad. We heard that he couldn't really put any weight on the leg. He was running fives in a gym and he couldn't put any weight on the leg and he had to, be carried out of the gym. And I'm like, wait, it seems like, if Clay doesn't go down, it seems like if the Warriors don't trade the pick, the obvious selection is Wiseman. But if Clay goes down and they think it's a serious injury, do they reconsider the possibility of drafting LaMelo here? The
you
thought
know,
crossed my mind, but then I'm like, you know what? The Warriors are, they're a smart group of people. The people that run, the general management, the people that are in the draft room. I don't think they'd probably change their draft board, based off one thing that happens,
Not a chance.
especially related to an injury.
Not a
Um,
chance.
and I don't think they wanted to touch LaMelo anyways. But the thought crossed my mind at least.
Yes.
It
Yeah,
could
that's
be
what I have to.
interesting though, but I think the
Right.
reason they probably didn't go for Melo is because the way like he has to play is like you want the ball in his hand, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't think that like the Golden State Warriors are necessarily looking for that. Though he could fit in though. He would be able to
Nah.
fit in, but I
Mm-mm.
just don't think that's what they're looking for. And honestly, I think if the news with Clay happened maybe day or two earlier, I feel like maybe they'll put some thought into maybe doing something different. I don't know, but it's hard to pass up Wiseman at two right there. So
I think even
Yeah, I
if
mean, if
yeah, I think even
sorry, go ahead.
If Clay went down a week before the draft, they wouldn't go for LaMelo. It's just because, like, think about it. You have a guy that like kind of can play the shooting guard position in Wiggins too. And I'm not saying Wiggins or Melo is better than another, but if you reconsider, like, you have Wiseman for the future now. Like, Clay might be out for a season and come back next season, hopefully. We don't know if he's going to be the same player or not, but he's still going to be a shooter. So you can end up, like, in 2 years having Curry, Clay Thompson, Wiggins, and Wiseman in the same lineup. That's why. And now Kelly Oubre that's coming
mhm.
to the Warriors too. So I mean, it's not worth to draft LaMelo and then have like 4 guards in your team just because Clay went down. I think Wiseman is the safest choice because the Warriors have been lacking a good center for, I'd say, 5 years now, right? Like, since JaVale McGee
Well,
and
really, since Bogut,
yeah,
honestly.
Yeah.
exactly. Ever since Bogut, they've been lacking a good center, and Wiseman can be Embiid type of player. If I'm
Oh
correct.
no, fuck out of here, man, with
I
that.
think so. I think so.
Nah,
I think so.
Wiseman has so far to go before you ever toss him in a category with Joel Embiid.
I'm saying he
He,
can be.
I don't think they got the same kind of nah,
I
nah.
think
I
his
think
so.
you're
offensive
wrong for
game is
sure.
so underdeveloped, man. He's just a rim runner right now at this point. Like, he has
I
great
felt like it.
wingspan. He's 240 pounds, 7'1", but he's just not developed at all. And hopefully the Warriors can develop him. But it's like you said, Thiago, at this point in time, all the Warriors really need is his size, his athleticism, and a little bit of pick and roll action. But to be honest, he can't pass well for a big at all right now. He has a lot of growing to do, and the Warriors are hoping that he'll be able to do those things, and hopefully he can learn quickly. But
I said he
in
can
You're
be,
reading a
right.
lot
and
about
he
him,
is.
he's got a lot. He's got a lot of growing to do.
He does, but he's in the right place. He's in a team that really needs a center. Like,
Yep.
they've been desperately getting these centers that have been considered buzz, like Willie Cauley-Stein. They got who was that guy from the Phoenix Suns that they got too? And they was actually looking good this year. I forgot his name. Whatever, you know what I mean. They've been getting like these centers like out of nowhere, and trying to win something with them. I think Wiseman is the right fit right now. And I
But
mean,
bruh,
Clay's down,
also
but
too,
yeah.
also the season starts next month.
Yep.
I don't think they're gonna have him completely ready to go.
Oh, of
I
course
mean,
not.
yeah.
But it's
I mean,
better than
the guy played 3 games of college basketball, right?
yeah. Who
So
played in his
Like,
place? The guy who played in his place got drafted by the Heat, if I'm correct.
yeah, the guy with the interesting name, Precious
precious.
Yeah,
Achua or
Precious.
something.
Yeah.
Wait,
His
before we
brother has
move
more
on
of an
though,
interesting name. His brother's name's God's Gift. What a great name that is.
legendary.
Um,
Before we
but
move on, real
let's talk.
quick,
Yeah,
let
go ahead.
me just mention number 3 right quick though. Just because he's in
I want.
Charlotte,
I was gonna say.
I'm
I was
trying
gonna
to
say. Can we please talk about Lamelo? Because that's where I was going.
Oh yeah, all right, bet it. We're on the same page.
Yeah.
Nah, first of all, it's so interesting. So I think ticket sales interest completely went up in Charlotte, which is
Oh, of
crazy.
course.
That's the
How could they
Lamelo
not?
Ball effect. But
Yep.
I'm ready to see like what's gonna happen with that. Hey, we could kick Scary Terry out finally. I don't even want to see that boy on there.
I think he's gonna stay.
I mean, one of them has to go. I mean, you have Devontae Graham, Scary Terry, and the Mello. I mean, one of them's getting relegated to the bench, or one of Graham or Rozier.
Terry,
It's obviously Rozier.
Terry's coming off
Maybe.
the bench, and I think he might
Yep.
take a role there. off the bench. That's what he's good at.
He could play the
That's
two.
what that's
Let
what it was.
Melo play the one.
Nah, I see Graham playing the two, Lamelo playing at one, Rozier coming off the bench. That's what Rozier has been doing, like on his best years with the Celtics. So
Yeah, Rozier came off the bench with the Celtics, and that's when he was at his best.
that's what he does best. He plays against second teams. That's what he does. He's not a
Okay.
starter.
Well, I would. So yeah, of course you're right. The interest in Charlotte's probably at an all-time high. um,
Mhm.
but I want to talk about Lamelo's ceiling and his floor. Let's talk about his strengths and weaknesses. So what do you guys see in Lamelo's game that you guys like and that you don't like?
I mean, off jump, his weakness is defense, and he plays like similar to how I wouldn't say similar, but like defensive minded. That's how I play. I don't play defense, so it seems like he's probably going to be on the weaker end of playing defense.
Wow.
But I mean, playmaking abilities, like he's definitely got that. And I'm kind of curious to see how his jump shot is going to translate to NBA three. And I know he's already played pro, so I feel like there's not going to be like too much of a gap. But once again, the league is kind of different from playing in
Ma-
Australia. So
What I'm hoping not to see, it's Alonzo Ball in his rookie year. Y'all remember Alonzo on his first few games as a Laker? He threw the ball way too much. Like he was shooting way too much and missing way too much, and people were already like going crazy on him because he was just shooting three after three. It was not looking good for him. So what I hope for Lamelo is for him not to get that cocky so fast. Because I see that happening. I see that happening because Lamelo, he's a cocky player. I can show that before. Like everywhere he played, he likes the attention
he's
and
just
all of that.
confident.
So he is,
Yeah, I
but
mean, I don't. Good luck telling that kid not to be cocky, dude.
Yeah.
It's already
no,
that's
I
already
know. But we all know how that went for Lonzo Ball in his first year as a Laker. He threw the ball way too much. He was trying to do way too much for the type of player that he was. So if LaMelo knows his role and stays in his lane and, take the shots that he should take and all that, I think he should do fine. I think his ceiling is huge. Like, dude can be a really good player. He can be way better than Lonzo, but I think it's going to depend a little bit on that,
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts just right out the box is he's easily the best playmaker in the draft. He's got the greatest handle in the draft. Um, for his position, he has great size. Um, concerning his shot, I have a lot of worries. Um, you look at his percentages at the free throw line and from beyond the 3-point line in Australia, shot really poor percentages. You look at his base, you just look at how he shot the ball, you look at like his feet positioning, kind of, some of the issues Lonzo Ball had just fundamentally with his shot. There's some of those weird tinkering issues that LaMelo has too. And he's probably going to have to, get with the shooting coach and have to work some kinks out too along the way here. But you see when LaMelo gets in the lane, he does have nice touch when it comes to, finishing around the basket, and he has a nice floater game too. So, like, people around the NBA will tell you that that provides, nice hope for somebody and thinking that if you have nice touch that it's possible that you can correct your shot from the outside. So, hopefully he can figure those things out, but as of right now, I am concerned about his shot because it looks kind of funky, and he shot it pretty poorly from what I've seen so far.
It's exactly
But
like I told you. He can be another Lonzo Ball, or he can be better. It depends on the way you
yeah,
start.
I think he will be better than his brother, though. I feel that I feel pretty strongly about that. He's not going to be a better defender than his brother, but
No, not at all.
I think that his impact in the league will be better than his brother.
Speaking of which, I'm not saying Lonzo is a bad player at all. For whoever
And
thinks
I'm
I'm
not
saying
either.
that, Lonzo is a great player. I'm just saying the way he started. I perfectly remember when he started in the NBA in his first games in the summer league. That was wild. That was crazy. People were grinding on him because he kept shooting break after break, and it was just not good to see. It was
I
just
mean,
not a
but
good
the
thing to
funny
see.
thing, if you think about it, though, Lamelo's entering a similar situation that Lonzo did. You
No,
look
he
at the
is.
talent that's in Charlotte,
Yeah.
it's eerily similar to the talent that was on that Lakers team when Lonzo came there. There's not much in Charlotte. Charlotte, say what you want about Charlotte, but that team was pretty fucking shitty last year and they competed every single night. They didn't win a lot of games, but they played pretty hard.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, Nick Batum
but
team. Come on.
yeah, you like to bring that one up every time. But yeah, it'll be interesting though. It'll be interesting for sure. But
Uh,
yeah, should we talk about players? We've kind of talked about 1 through 3 here. Should we now talk about players just in the first round selections that we
I
liked? We
I
liked
got
moving forward.
a second round selection that I'm gonna talk later. We're not
All
gonna
right.
spoil it now, but I think it's gonna be the steal of the draft. Anyways,
Yeah,
on
let's
the
save it
first
for later.
round, obviously I like the Miami Heat pick. I think dude is a competitor. Obviously, I was gonna talk about that for
Yeah, I
my
like that
team.
one too.
But other than that, Obi Toppin, man, that's what I wanted to focus. Dude is playing at home. He wants to be a Knick, and it's surprising that he didn't go. He didn't get selected earlier, in my opinion. I think dude is pretty complete for. I mean, he's older too, so.
Well, I'm
But
kind
I
of
thought,
curious though.
yeah,
Don't the Knicks need a guard?
Yeah,
they do.
badly.
But you
Yeah,
cannot skip. You cannot pass on Obi Toppin. If you're the
I
Knicks
know that
and
was a top.
you're
That was a
there,
tough.
you can exactly. But
no, I liked the Knicks pick of Abu Toppin. I did.
yeah, and they also got that Argentina guy that from Barcelona,
Yeah,
which is not bad.
Bolsonaro.
Yeah, he play Bolmaro. Bolsonaro is the president of
Bolmaro, yeah,
Brazil.
yeah, sorry. Bolsonaro, Bolmaro. Yeah.
Yeah, Bolmaro from Argentina. Yeah, he's not a guard too, and I know that they cut their ties with Alfred Payton, so I guess
Mm.
they just gonna try to get someone on free agency or something. But either ways, yeah, Obi Toppin wanting to play in New York is a big deal.
Yeah.
I feel like not a lot of
Well,
players who could be drafted would want to play in the Knicks. For the Knicks situation and what they've been doing with players, I feel like other player than not Obi Toppin that was born and raised in New York would want to play for them. Dude seems very happy by his draft, so I guess that's halfway done. For me, that's one of the best picks. That and Cole Anthony for the Orlando Magic. I think those two picks, they were really key for the teams that they're gonna play for.
Yeah, I like the
Um,
Cole Anthony one. I like that pick.
yeah, I think he's gonna play
I
shooting
like
guard
that one too.
mostly. Because or is he gonna share game time with Markel Fultz? Because I feel Markel Fultz still has something to do in Orlando. I still believe in him, but he can play the shooting guard, and then you put Cole Anthony at point guard.
Yeah, he'll
Um,
come off the bench. I don't think Cole Anthony will start, but it's still a good pick for them.
It is a really good pick. And then
Um, Let me
we
chime
wanted
in real quickly here. So the concern with Obi Toppin is was you mentioned his age. Yeah, that was a part of it. He's 22. He turns 23 in March. And then defensively, he was a little bit of a liability at Dayton, and that was a big concern regarding him leading up to the draft. But looking at the fact that he's now on the Knicks, I think he really is a player that you could pair up nicely at the 4 position next to Mitchell Robinson, who will be playing the 5 for the foreseeable future with the Knicks. But you raised a good question, Tiago. Who's going to be playing the point guard for the Knicks? Because that RJ Barrett experiment at the point guard, that shit's not working, man.
oh
RJ
no.
Barrett is not a point guard in the NBA, and they tried to do that for a little bit last year. And I get that they tried to do that a little bit because they really had nobody else. The Dennis Smith Jr. thing really hasn't worked. He can't shoot the ball from the outside at all, which is a problem. But I like Obi Toppin a lot, but just defensively, those are the only concerns. And then regarding Cole Anthony, I think you guys are right. He probably doesn't start right away, but I think eventually he will be the starting point guard in Orlando. He doesn't have the size to play shooting guard. He's 6'3". You can't. It's really difficult to
Yeah.
play shooting guard in the NBA at 6'3". And regarding Markel Fultz, no, I don't see it, dude. I'm not buying stock in Markel Fultz as being the starting point guard in Orlando for the next few years. Dude, that jump shot is just not fixed. He just is not comfortable shooting beyond 16 feet.
They
and
broke
you
it.
see him shoot 3-pointers, and yeah, like he'll make one every once in a while, but still, you still see defensively teams, they dare him to shoot it every single time, and it's a problem. I just don't see how Orlando can move forward with him at the point guard position. It just
I
doesn't
believe
make
in
sense to
him.
me.
I do believe in him.
Yeah, I just disagree with you 1000%, but you're entitled to your own opinion.
All right,
I'm a
so
Markel Fultz believer.
let me jump in here too. Talking about Philly. So I thought the Tyrese Maxey, it was a cool pick, but and I know they got Danny Green. I'm just like Philly is just one of these teams I'm just like never sold on. You know, like
Hmm.
I just wasn't like I understand Danny Green may be a good player, decent player, whatever. He happens to be on winning teams always, but
Philly did
dude,
need
like
shooting though. They
yeah,
needed shooting badly. And I
I
know
wouldn't
Danny
say
Green
Tyrese
struggled in the
Maxey was
playoffs,
the
so
yeah, but I wouldn't say Tyrese Maxey is the answer either. So that's just kind of
he
interesting.
can score the ball though. He scored at Kentucky.
Yeah, he scored, but as far as like the shooters they're looking for, I guess Danny Green kind of covered that. But it's Philly, man. I'm just never sold on Philly.
Yeah, me
Never.
neither. I don't see the Eagles. God damn, it's the same shit. Both Philly teams. I don't see the Sixers doing anything this year again, man. It's just a fucking shit show. They just traded Josh Richardson. I mean, come on, man. Like, are you kidding me? Or like, okay, like you need shooters and you get
I
Danny
mean, I
Green.
mean, I, they had to do something
Holy
though, man. They
crap!
couldn't. They couldn't run it back with those same guys. After
Nah.
all the shit that went down, they couldn't run it back with that same team. They had to make some slight tinkers here and there. Like,
I
yeah,
get it.
maybe you guys are right, and like the changes that they made are like insignificant, and this season will still be a shit show. But like in good faith to the fans and the rest of the players on the team, they
At
had to
least
do
they tried,
something.
I
right?
just feel bad for Jay Rich, man. Dude is a baller. Like he has the attitude. I miss him on the Miami Heat, to be honest. Dude has the attitude of a basketball player. Like he wants to play. He puts everything on the court every single night he plays. And dude is just humble like that. And then you go and trade him and a couple of other stuff for Seth Curry. I mean, I get it. You need shooters. Seth Curry is a great 3-point shooter, and fine. I just feel bad for Jay Rich. If you guys like if you see him getting traded just like that, a guy that hustles that much, I hope he has success in Dallas.
Wait,
Honestly, I do.
why do you feel bad for him? I don't feel
I
bad for him. He's going
no,
to a good team.
he is. When you see a player getting traded like that, I know. I saw a couple of comments on that trade, and I saw a couple of people talking about that trade, and all they talk about like Seth Curry, Seth Curry, Seth Curry. I'm like, damn, y'all forget like Jay Rich is a legit player. Like on 2 years ago when D Wade was playing his last season for us, and we got a lot of injuries on the Miami Heat, he was one of the main pieces that almost got us to the playoffs. People forget that so quickly. I remember that perfectly. Dude was averaging 15 points a game, and he was balling every single day. Like
Yeah.
he was playing like crazy. People forget that so
Yeah, no,
quickly.
I totally hear you, but it's strictly just based off of need. Philly needed shooters and Dallas needed wing defenders, so it was just a simple exchange.
Just worked.
Yeah.
Um but I have a pick that I like. Some people might think it's a little bit of a reach, but I really liked Cleveland's pick at 5 of
Oh
Isaac
yeah.
Okoro, the winger out of Auburn, man.
I completely agree.
So this guy is a great athletic defensive wing from Auburn. He can defend, one of the best defenders in the draft. The knock on him coming out was that he struggles shooting the ball from the outside. That's what he needs to develop in the NBA to really, take his game to the next level. I would like to bring up a player named Kawhi Leonard who shot 25% from the 3-point line in college. There are players who slowly develop, you know, more
Mhm.
slower than others. I'm not saying Okoro is going to be anything like Leonard, but I just like his frame. I like his potential. And I think with the pieces that Cleveland has, you look at Garland and you look at Sexton, those are small guards and they're not great defenders. Cleveland really needed an athletic 3 that could guard the 3 and 4 position. Kevin Love's really not a great defender either. And I think Okoro just provides them a lot of versatility. And the added addition is if his offensive game does develop, you have a really great player there.
But I got a question for you though. You see, like their lineup right now. Cleveland is playing with these young guys in their starting lineup, and I see a little bit of confusion here because you got Garland at 1, Sexton at 2, and then Kevin Porter was playing at 3. So who's gonna be it? Who's gonna take the 3? Kevin Porter or Okoro? Personally, I like Kevin Porter Jr. and I think he's a great player. Like he's putting numbers for Cleveland, and he can play the 2 also, but I don't see him taking Sexton's spot. But what do you think? Like, how do you think it's gonna look
Off
the
the
starting
bench.
lineup? Because but who's
Yeah,
coming off the bench?
Okoro. He just got drafted. He's not gonna start over Kevin Porter immediately.
I think
You
it
still have
depends.
Steady.
It's an interesting season, right? Because there's not really any summer league. We're just going guns blazing and starting here on December 22nd. So I would have no problem if Porter got the nod at the beginning of the season, and if Porter's play remained consistent and he's getting the job done. And you give Okoro spells, and he's coming in and he's playing solid defense. That's fine at first. You just want to make sure you're giving Okoro, his opportunity to develop, and you need to give him shots. You need to give him game opportunities where he has an opportunity to get offense, because the only way to develop your offense in the NBA is to do offense. So
Yeah.
that's how I see it. But I like Porter Jr., but the thing with Cleveland is they don't have enough defense, and Okoro
That is
provides
true.
that. And I think eventually he will be a starter. And if that means moving Porter Jr. out of the lineup, then so be it.
All
Well,
right.
I just need y'all to remember too that the starting five is not gonna play the whole game, especially in Cleveland. So
No,
Okoro
yeah.
is definitely gonna have his time to shine.
No, I
And
agree.
Yeah.
like probably by mid-season, there may be like some lineup switches, but he's gonna have his time, just like many other rookies will.
I was just thinking, like moving forward, that might be a little bit of a mess, but whatever. They still have
I
It'll
time.
mean,
be easy to
okay,
figure out.
yeah. No, I was just more answering your question from the perspective of like a year from now, who's in the starting five? Okoro is their starting. Okoro is their starting winger. For the next 8 years is the Cavs' hope. So
Mhm.
that's why they drafted him. But it doesn't necessarily matter 3 months from now if he is. But
Uh,
it'll be interesting to see what happens.
one last pick I'd like to mention from the first round that I still haven't talked about. No one of us has is R.J. Hampton.
That was my next one I was
Uh,
gonna mention. So I'm with you.
I like him. I really like R.J. Hampton. Not gonna lie, and I think he got drafted at 24th. Do you guys think do
He
you guys would you guys
he went
draft
to a
him
great
earlier?
spot. He went to a great spot for him too.
It's a
It
perfect
did to the
situation
Bucks.
Yep.
Yeah, I
with the
mean
Nuggets,
they're
right?
gonna contend.
Nah, Nuggets, buddy.
Yeah,
No, he's at the Nuggets. Oh,
yeah.
he is. My
The
bad. My
Bucks
bad. My
owned
bad.
the pick and then went to the Nuggets.
Oh yeah. I was watching it wrong. Yeah, he went to the Nuggets and he's in the right spot. Yeah, he has time to develop, and we all know what the Nuggets do with this. They
Oh
draft
yeah.
picks. Like
That's
they
a
made
that's a
Bol
solid
work.
team. Yeah.
Yeah, they made Bol work. They made Porter work. So definitely, yeah.
I
You
think
guys
he's
want to
gonna
talk
have
about it?
I think he's in a good spot to kind of develop his game even more. And then you have Murray there too, kind of taking the reins right there. Um, as far as like guard play goes. So he'll definitely have
Hmm.
time to develop a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go
The
ahead.
thing with Hampton is he kind of bet on himself a little bit, right? Taking an unorthodox route of, going to Australia and not doing the college thing. Um, his numbers in Australia weren't too great, so that's why you saw a little bit of a slide. Before, when he was coming out of high school, he was a projected lottery pick, before, when he was in the AAU circuit. But the knock before coming to the draft was that his shooting touch wasn't great, and they were worried about his shooting from the outside, and also his ability to put the ball on the floor. But in Denver, he's not gonna have to do that much. Like he's a guy that can play off the ball there because Murray can handle most of that. He could put the ball on the floor 1, 2, or 3 times, but his athleticism's crazy. He can get to the basket in 1, 2 dribbles and just elevate. So I think he's in a perfect spot. And like with all those other players, because there's already an established three there. It seems like Porter Jr. is like going to step up and be that guy next year. So if you have
Mhm.
Murray, Jokic, and Porter Jr., and if Hampton develops into a fourth, that's crazy. And then also think too, like if he does develop and like you have another pick or another player develops, you can always trade something like Hampton, a pick and another player for like another star, right? Like I think that's how the Nuggets think, right? Because they
Okay.
draft these players that kind of slide in the draft and they're like, hey, these guys kind of fell, but why did they fall? Because remember Porter Jr. had the back injury at Missouri. He fell all the
Yeah.
way to 14 and the Nuggets swooped him up. And this is kind of similar, that they grabbed Hampton at 24. So I think the Nuggets really know what they're doing when they
They're they're
they
very
set up their
smart.
draft boards.
They're very
Yeah.
smart draft wise. But and this is what I wanted to go in this episode. For me, the best team drafting this year was the Golden State Warriors, and it's not because of James Wiseman. It's because of
Nico
Nico.
Mannion.
Man, hell yes. Dude, I forgot he was in this draft class. I was watching the draft and I see him getting picked in the second round. I'm like, wow. I forgot Nico Mannion was here. And listen, Nico Mannion, I don't know if you guys follow him in college. Dude, he's a beast. Like, he can ball. He's really good. And he is in the perfect spot because I know some of the concerns is that he being a player ready to play in the NBA and all that. And I agree. Dude is going to learn with Steph Curry. And he's a shooter too. So listen up. If you have Steph Curry and Clay is not going to play this year, but once you have Steph Curry and Clay Thompson, and then you have Jordan Poole and Nico Mannion coming off the bench, that can be scary. That can be those are two guards that are learning from two of the best guards in the league right now, and I think that's the steal of the draft for me, man. Not for the first year, obviously, because he's not going to have that much playing time, I believe, but at the long term, this guy is going to be a baller. I'm 100% sure about that.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely followed him in high school and all that too. So
Yeah,
I'm on that. I'm on board with that too.
that's a great way to wrap up the draft. Honestly, I didn't know he was in the second round available.
I got mine for you guys. I got the best pick in the draft for the best value. I'm gonna lay it on you guys. Um, Sacramento Kings did a hell of a job at number 12. Tyrese Halliburton slipped
Mm-hmm.
far too far. Iowa State. He's a guard. He can play on the ball, off the ball. Can play for himself and for others. Can get to the basket. Has some mid range. Can shoot from the outside. Pretty well. Probably has to develop that in the league. Can really defend. Uh, Seems like a high character guy from all accounts. In the draft process and interviews. But like his game is just really developed. You know, beyond most stages for where most rookies are when they come into the league, and it was pretty mind-blowing to me that he slipped all the way to number 12 to the Kings. I think looking back on this draft 4 years from now, he's going to be one of those guys where it's like, how the hell did he possibly slip that far? So yeah, Tyrese Halliburton, remember that name.
Hell yeah. Uh, I mean, I guess that's for me. That's everything on the draft. A lot. I mean, I could be talking about Killian Hayes too, but I mean, he was picked where he should have been picked. So I got nothing
I
else
think
to
he went a little
say.
bit early.
Uh, I think he went in the right spot. I think the one that slipped though was Avdia for the Wizards. So they took a while to pick him. It was let me see.
Yeah, he was
Uh,
projected top 5, was he not?
Yeah, it was the ninth pick by the Wizards. And listen, the Wizards right now, they now that we're gonna talk about free agency and all that, they're trying to make that trade for Westbrook with Wall, and I hope they don't put Avdia on that pack, obviously, because I think he's gonna be, he can develop to be a great player. He did great in Israel. But just look at that. If Westbrook actually comes playing alongside Bradley Beal, and then you got like pieces like the Rui Hachimura, and they got Avdia now. That's not a bad team, and I like their center. Bryant, what's his first name?
Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas Bryant. He was projected to be better than he actually is, but he's still a solid center. I don't know, man. I see the Wizards, making some good things here and there, a little bit like the Suns, starting to get back on track. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, not even close to that, unless like Westbrook is in. Maybe then they can make the playoffs with him and Beal. But I like this Wizards team. I like what I'm seeing, the way they're building.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. It'll be interesting for sure. I think the Pistons had a great draft. I said Killian Hayes went a little too high, but I do like Killian Hayes. Sadiq Bey from Villanova went like 18th or 19th. Great player, great shooter. Can bucket for himself anywhere really on the floor. Shot like 40-something% from three in college. Detroit has a new GM this season. He did a great job. Made a few trades on draft night. I think they really set themselves up pretty nicely. But should we talk about some free agency stuff?
Yeah, let's move into free agency. What do you want to hit first?
Should we just talk about what the Milwaukee Bucks did first surrounding Drew Holiday?
And Bogdanovich, going to free agency and refusing to play for them?
Restricted free agency situation with Bogdanovich.
Man, rejecting to play. Like, why did he refuse to play for the Bucks, a contender team? Like, it gives you food for thought, right?
The Bucks.
Like, yeah, but like it's still the best team on the East. I should burn my tongue for saying this as a Miami Heat fan, but they are on paper the best team on the East. So why would you refuse to play for them? He came from the Kings. Don't you want to win some? I don't know. Me personally, I would accept going to the Bucks and see where that takes me. Because now, do you think he's gonna get a big contract out of free agency? Like, what are his motivations to not go to Milwaukee? What do you guys think?
Well, he's a free agent this year, right?
Yeah.
Dude, he's got teams to explore then, I guess. I understand like the Bucks could be like a nice little setup, but I feel like a player his value, like he probably could
find another about Bogdanovich, right?
Yeah. It's the perfect setup.
He's a restricted free agent, so there's a possibility he wanted to go into unrestricted free agency and test the waters, completely clean and clear, to go wherever he please.
But shouldn't you wait one more year and then prove more? Because if you play for a contender and you have the role that Donte DiVincenzo had last year, because Donte was traded, Bogdanovich was supposed to fill that hole, and you have one more year to prove that you're worth more money and you're playing for a contender. So either ways, you're gonna look good if the Bucks do good. I feel like you could get a lot more money next year than this year because I don't see people giving him that much value for what it did in Sacramento, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he's a really interesting player, though. He's not a great defender, that's for sure. But with the ball in his hands, he can do a lot. He can get to the basket. He has a really nice jump shot.
I'm gonna give him the ball, though.
Say it again.
What team is gonna say, "Oh, I'm picking Bogdanovich because I want him to be, my main option with the ball"? No one.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying I'm talking about that guy as a six man off the bench, like that type of player. I'm talking like that. That's crazy. That's like killer stuff right there.
Exactly.
That's how I view that player.
And the Bucks need that. What I'm saying is that if this guy wants to make more money, take your last year on the contract, play for a contender, look good on paper, because that's what's going to happen. Like, you're going to look good. If the Bucks go to finish as the first seed in the East, you're going to be looking good. Donte DiVincenzo was looking good. He's not that great of a player, to be honest. So you are looking good. Next year of free agency, you get more money. You'll get teams going for you to be their sixth man, wherever the fuck you want him to play. But this year, refusing to play for a contender like the Bucks, what do you expect? Where do you want to go? Does he want to play for another team that's fighting for a playoff spot? Because I don't get it. I would think this would make sense if he got traded to a team like the Knicks or I don't know, a team that's not contending right now. That would make sense. Yes, but to the Bucks, I don't think it makes sense.
I think he's a solid shooting guard, man. Like it's nothing bad to be
I'm just
to
saying, the Bucks need a shooting guard, and he could have been filling a big role in Dante DiVincenzo's absence, because that's why they traded Dante, was because Bogdanovich was supposed to be on their roster. Now the Bucks have to look for another shooting guard, and who knows?
Well, so be it. I'm more interested in what's up with the. So, what was the deal with Drew Holiday? What did they deal away? And
So Drew Holiday goes to Milwaukee for 3 first-round picks, Eric Bledsoe and George Hill. This I don't know what Milwaukee's doing. What is the
Yeah,
brain trust in Milwaukee doing? It makes no sense.
yeah, it's too much.
Okay. First of all, okay, yeah, 100% too much. That's A. B is Giannis Antetokounmpo hasn't even signed that max contract yet. So, all right, let me say that, and then the second part of it is, does Milwaukee's ownership group, do they already have like a deal in place with Giannis where he's like in principle agreed with them? He's like saying, "Oh, if you go out and get Drew, like I give you my word, I will sign a max deal." Because unless he's given them his word that he's going to sign a max deal, why would they mortgage their future with 3 first-round draft picks, a first-round draft pick all the way in 2027? 2027. We're talking 7 years from now. And it's not like I love that I will say this now, but I was talking shit about Eric Bledsoe the other day, and I still think that he shits the bed in the playoffs for them goddamn near every year. But it's not like Eric Bledsoe's worthless. Like, he's still, during the regular season, he's still a player that can, provide you value. He can get to the cup. He can play solid defense. And George Hill actually, if you look at metrics, he played pretty well. He
Actually,
had a
he's
pretty
good.
solid year last year.
He is good.
Exactly. And what the hell? You think about it like this too. Drew Holiday, you look at his career, he's fairly injury prone. He's been on the injured list for a number of different times throughout his career. I know he had that unfortunate experience when his wife, I can't remember if it was tumors in her brain or if it was brain cancer, and he stepped away from the game for a while. So nobody can fault him for that. But there's that. Sorry. And then there's the fact that you
He's
look at his
declining.
stats. Drew is 100% one of the best defensive guards in the NBA. Like, he deserves his props for that. But offensively, like, he's a better than average player. But like, is he that player that instantly comes to Milwaukee and gets them over the hump, and they're like, now you can pencil them in for a finals appearance? I don't know if
well,
I'd say that.
I'll say this though. I don't know if he's the savior point guard, but offensively, like this shocked me. But when I saw him play in person, he was way better than like I ever like kind of imagined. And I was bugging out the whole game because I'm like, this
He
dude is actually
was.
a solid basketball player.
He
And
was.
like I don't think like too many people like realize it until like you probably see him in person or you like legit watch his game. So like when I seen the Pelicans play, I quickly like came to a realization like this man is also like somewhat of an offensive threat. I'm not gonna say he's all star like oh my god it's Drew Holiday like we gotta like chill out or he's gonna destroy us. But he's solid. I
Oh my
I
god.
think
Yeah,
it's
I
gonna
mean,
I think it's a good fit.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I looked at his numbers earlier today. I can kind of like recite them from last year off the top of my head. I think he averaged like 19 and a half points a game, like 6 assists, like 4.5 rebounds. He shot like 35% from the 3-point line. And I think like for the most part, like, he's really physical too. Like, he can kind of push other guards like, around and like
Yeah.
get into the paint as he pleases. But I just look at the value they gave up and all those picks, and it just doesn't translate to me. Like, the
No.
math just doesn't make sense.
No, 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 not at all. And he's declining too, man. Whatever you say. I know we saw him play live and he did great. That's true. Kyle was talking about it for the fucking week. But what I'm saying is like uh he's declining, man. But hey, great deal for the Pelicans. That's great.
Hell yeah. The Pelicans, dude, the Pelicans are stacking up these picks,
Oh
dude.
my god. New
Them
Orleans
and
gonna be
OKC.
legit.
Yeah.
And OKC too. But listen, Pelicans have been looking scary, man. I just feel bad for George Hill or Eric Bledsoe because one of them is not going to have playing time this year. or it's just going to be released because you got Lonzo and he's still going to be their main option. I mean, for the Pelicans to accept the
Well,
trade for Drew, he's literally saying Lonzo.
not to mention that the Pelicans drafted that really exceptional point guard from Alabama in the first round, who, from all accounts, sounds like is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't see.
Kyra something.
Yeah. So I don't see Eric Bledsoe or George Hill having much playing time.
One of them is going to get traded or released 100%.
So speaking of the OKC, you talked about OKC right now. How about the Lakers and trading for
Schroeder.
for Dennis Schroeder? I mean, we've been talking really good about him. I love that trade too, but do you think he's going to come off the bench? Because I think that's his best spot right now, right? Like, that's what he does best.
Why would
You
he
think
not
he's
start?
starting?
Yeah, who would start?
So I agree with you, Thiago. My favorite role for Schroeder is always off the bench. I think that's where he's most comfortable and where he's always excelled the best. But the question I think Kyle wisely poses is, who the hell is there to start? Who else? Who do the Lakers even have to start?
LeBron started
Alex Caruso going to start at point guard?
LeBron James is starting at point guard. He did that, and also there's that thing like
I guess it's an option.
They just released Quinn Cook. Quinn Cook was just released by the Lakers. That's sad news. But I think LeBron might start, and then Schroeder coming off the bench. I personally would put him on the starting lineup just because Schroeder has showed, like, since his Atlanta times, that he can be a starting point guard. The dude has quality. Okay, like he could start at shooting guard or point guard. But I don't know, man. Maybe they want to get fancy and start Rondo, Schroeder, LeBron,
Well, Rondo's out.
and
Rondo's gone, doggy.
he is?
Rondo out.
Yeah.
Rondo made himself some money in the playoffs last year. Lakers.
He upped his value again.
I had no
They're
idea.
stretched too thin cap wise. They don't have enough money to pay him.
So wait, it's only Caruso.
The one dark horse answer I have for you is, I can't remember his name fully, and this is like probably not going to be true, but I think this kid could surprise some people because he did get some minutes in some kind of meaningless games, and he played, I thought, pretty decently. What's the kid's name? Talen Horton Tucker.
What the hell? Who's
You guys know what I'm
that?
talking about?
On the Lakers, right?
No, who the hell
Yeah,
is that?
he's a guard, and he played pretty solidly, and I think he will be. I think the Lakers will retain him, and I'm not going to say he'll start or anything, but I think you will be surprised. The Lakers are going to have to get creative with the cap, and that guy will be a guy that will play some minutes. And if the Lakers don't want to start Schroeder, hey, who knows? Thiago, I don't think the Lakers are going to start LeBron James at the point guard position. LeBron naturally will play the point, but I don't think he's going to start at the point.
I believe in everything right now, man. I don't even know what's going on. I didn't even know Rondo was out. Damn, I'm shook. Is Rondo signing? Like, he didn't sign for anyone yet, did he?
No, the rumor is he's going to go to the Clippers. That's been like kind of
yeah, that'd be tight.
That's such a Rondo move if you think about it. Dude doesn't give a shit where he plays. He just wants to play. Oh my god! I mean, if you go to the Clippers, that's a Rondo move right there. That's 100% Rondo move right there. I don't see any other player doing that. Yeah. I want to see that happen.
All right, let's finish up with the Chris Paul movement to Phoenix.
Definitely.
Phoenix in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't know if I go that far. I think it's a possibility, but I wouldn't guarantee it.
You don't like the three of him, Booker.
Did you wait? Did y'all forget what Devin Booker did in the bubble like a couple of months ago? Or
dude, it's sample size, bruh. That way, do you forget how stacked the Western Conference is, my friend? Do you know who the 8th seed was? The Portland Trailblazers were the 8th seed.
I just know that CP3 proved himself as bringing the Thunder to where they did. So I wouldn't necessarily say that the Suns are going to drop too low.
So you're telling me the Suns are not better than the Thunder right now?
I don't know.
What?
No.
I'm just saying that they're not going to drop out too low. That's what I'm saying.
And I'm saying there's probably a pretty good chance that the Suns make the playoffs. But on the other side of that coin, if they didn't make the playoffs, I wouldn't be shocked. Would you be shocked if they didn't make the playoffs?
I would. I would definitely be
Really?
shocked if they didn't make the. It's about time, okay? Aiton had his time to, adapt to the league. Booker is an established superstar. Chris Paul did what he did last year with the Thunder, so he has less workload in Phoenix right now. And goddamn, they had one of the best runs in the bubble. So that shit was historic. Okay, not making the playoffs, that was crazy. So yes,
Yeah, but
it's playoff or
that
bust.
bubble situation was such a unique situation, though. I don't know if you can really translate that logic and apply it to, a now 82 game season. I mean,
They beat really good teams in the bubble. What do you mean? Are you saying that winning a championship in the bubble doesn't count?
No,
I'm just
no,
saying,
nobody's
it's
saying that.
just different. It's just a weird situation. I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm just saying it's different. I mean, of course they have Chris Paul now, and that's great. He's a great player, and I think if Booker steps up his game and he takes the next step and he continues to play like he did in the bubble, and Aiden takes the next step, yeah, Chris Paul with them, yeah, they're probably in the playoffs for sure. I'm just saying how stacked the West is. I still wouldn't be surprised. You
I'll
just
tell
look
you
at
this.
even at 6, 7, and 8, how deep the West was. It's still a
I'll,
toss up.
I'll tell you this. If the Suns don't make the playoffs this year, Booker is out. He's out. He's going
No, I believe
away.
that. I believe that.
Okay.
Far away. Yeah, this is playoff
Yeah.
or bust for Phoenix. If they don't win, if they don't make the playoffs this year, the Suns are going to be bad again because they just wasted a lot on Chris Paul, and then DeAndre Ayton is not going to carry the team alone, and Booker is going away. It's going to be a mess. I hope
I
it
don't know,
doesn't happen.
man. For me, it's this weird like swap in my head. So like the Thunder were like 5, in the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I right? Yeah, so they're 5, and I was with CB3. He goes to the Suns now. I don't know if they're gonna be 5, but I just feel like the Thunder are gonna move completely out the playoffs, and that gives room
Oh,
for
for sure.
Suns
Exactly.
to be somewhere. I don't know. It just
Exactly.
But
feels
also
almost like a
but
direct swap,
okay,
like.
yeah. So the other team you got to consider is Memphis. But I do think that the Suns are definitely better than Memphis. But
Yeah,
The
at the
yeah.
same
Rockets.
time, like I wouldn't count Memphis out entirely.
What about the Rockets? The Rockets are trading away everything. Do you expect them to make the
Yeah.
playoffs next year?
No.
Exactly. So there's
I mean,
going to be movement.
but at the same time, though, like if hypothetically, if it seems unlikely that this situation occurs, but what if Harden and Westbrook remain on that team?
It's not going to happen. It's 100% not going to happen because the Rockets are already trading, the pieces that make that team come together. Especially Rocco, Robert Covington is away. He's gone, and
He's
he,
gone for Portland.
in my opinion, he was one of the main pieces of that Rockets roster because he plays defense. That's it.
Yep.
And he shoots the ball very well. So once I saw that trade, I was like, yeah, the Rockets are going full rebuild right now. 100%.
Oh,
That's
definitely.
it. There is no way James Harden and Westbrook are going to play with such a dysfunctional team. Austin Rivers already opted out too. He's a free agent, right? He's a free agent right now. That house is burning, and they don't want to be there. That house is literally burning right now, and I don't see
Thiago's
none of
fucking
them
burning
staying.
shit down.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true though. The Rockets are rebuilding. They're not going to be the
No,
playoffs next year.
Thiago, I agree with you entirely. I think you hit the nail on the head. The Rockets, whether they know it or not, are rebuilding, and I'll give you one more reason why. All accounts paint the picture that the Rockets owner financially is fucked. Apparently,
Yes.
he's like all of his businesses are related to like restaurants. I might be wrong in saying this, possibly casinos, and COVID-19 has just shit on his financials entirely. And
Oh,
apparently things are really bad for him right now, and getting some of those contracts off the books and getting players like Harden and Westbrook out of town is not necessarily the worst thing for him right now. So they're definitely a rebuild isn't the worst thing for Houston right
Fire
now
in
too.
Houston.
and think about this.
Uh,
Harden just refused the biggest contract in the NBA. That was $50 million.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Like that's bad. If your star player refuses a contract like that, then it's time to start over again. And I think it's the right thing to do. This whole Harden experiment with Chris Paul, with Chris Capella, with Westbrook, and with Dwight Howard before. It didn't work. Okay, it's just forget about it. I don't think James Harden
Okay,
can carry a team on the playoffs
I
alone.
have one last thing to say on this episode tonight. If I'm the GM of any team in the NBA and I have to pay James Harden more than $40 million to dribble a basketball on my team, I'm not signing up for that shit. I'm not signing up for that shit any day of the week that ends in a Y.
I
Fuck
agree.
that, dude. That guy seems like he's just a cancer in the locker room. He can't play with anyone. He couldn't seem to play with Chris Paul. He couldn't seem to play with Russell Westbrook. I don't know if Russell Westbrook just wanted the ball in his hands and that's why he wanted to
Exactly.
get out of Houston. James Harden didn't want to play in OKC anymore after the Thunder lost to the Miami Heat in the finals. He couldn't agree on a contract extension. And it's like now James Harden thinks he's gonna go to Brooklyn.
Oh my.
I don't know
Okay.
what that guy's thinking.
Oh my
It's like
God.
he cooks up and he does all this amazing stuff in all these meaningless regular season games. And it's like, yeah, you know what, good for you, James. Nobody really cares, man. Like you're gonna go down as, one of the greatest, 10 offensive scorers in NBA history. You'll never win a ring, but you'll go into the Hall of Fame, but yeah.
No,
All right.
there's a
Anyways,
way.
that
There's a
concludes my
way.
rant on James Harden.
There's a way he wins a ring, and we can finish this episode by this. And the only way I think he can win a ring is that if he goes to a contender team, obviously like the Nets, but he plays a different role. Because hold up, if he goes to the Nets and he's the same James Harden as last year with Kyrie and Kevin Durant on the same team, that's gonna be a shit show. That's gonna be bad,
Dude.
It's gonna be bad.
Kyrie
I don't wanna
Irving,
think about
dude,
it.
Kyrie Irving and James Harden, one
Oh,
of them might not make it out of Brooklyn alive in
oh yeah,
2021.
it's gonna be some fights in that locker room. One of them is gonna go full Gilbert Arenas mode, and that's all I'm gonna say here.
Hey.
That's all I'm gonna say here.
We just need to.
I think
we
it'll
just
work.
need to
Let's
fucking.
believe.
No. We just need to get Draymond out there to Brooklyn too.
Oh,
Let's just get the whole
yes.
gang out there.
Oh, yo, bring
Destroy my
Draymond,
team.
get Gilbert Arenas off retirement to play as a fucking assistant coach or some shit like that. Get Gilbert Arenas out there, and I don't know who else. Oh, and Marcus Smart. Yes, bring all those together. Let them cook. Let
Trying
them
to
cook
cause
whatever.
mayhem in Brooklyn.
Let them cook whatever they have to cook there.
Oh god. All right, are we good on this one? Are we?
Oh
wrapping it
yeah,
up?
that was a good way to wrap it up.
All right. Good stuff. That concludes our NBA draft recap and some NBA free agency talk. We'll be back next week.